Hello, everyone, and welcome again to On Tour. It's the cricket program where we look back at the West Indies versus Bangladesh series. It's day number 2 of the second test at Maipur, and boy, the West Indies are large and in charge. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's look at the scorecard and where the match position is at the moment. The West Indies in a pretty strong position. They made 409 after resuming on 223 for 5, and Bangladesh at the close, they were tottering on 71 for 4. They recovered a little bit to reach 105 without further loss. But you would have to say that the West Indies certainly showing their dominance in this test match and I guess test series because they're 1-0 up in the series. Nkrumah Bonner was denied a maiden test century. He only added some 16 runs. He moved from 74 to 90. Joshua De Silva, he moved from 22 to 92, also denied what should have been a maiden test century. And what do you know? The consistent Alzari Joseph with the bat, he also was denied what should have been a maiden test century. He made a very dashing 82. Islam got 4 for 108. And then when the West Indies bowled, it was Shannon Gabriel with 2 for 31, leading the charge after Tammy Iqbal made 44. What a day's cricket. Well, let's join our panel. Of course, we have former West Indies and Barbados fast bowler Tino Best. We have our international correspondent, Johnny Barron, and of course, our regional correspondent, Fazir Mohammed. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Tino, I'll start with you first of all today. The brief answer, in the West Indies position, how are you feeling about their position at this stage?
Yeah, Barry, very happy for sure. Very optimistic. Test matches can go the other way very quickly, yeah, Barry. I always thought that they had to score 350 or more to put themselves in a decent position in terms of first innings total, and they did exactly that. So well done to them.
And Johnny Barron, conditions look good. The West Indies on the upper hand at the moment, having the upper hand at the moment.
Very much so. I think conditions have played very well all the way through the course of the second day. And the key thing for West Indies was keeping it tight this morning. Just 1 wicket lost. They powered on in the afternoon and then critically took 4 Bangladesh wickets before the close. Almost the perfect day for them.
Fazir Mohammed, you often said that if the West Indies can put pressure on people when they get big first innings total, it makes a difference. I think 409, you'll be satisfied with that particular position.
Except for those 3 who missed out on those hundreds, as we talked about in your introduction. But yeah, you've got to put pressure. And it was good to see Shannon Gabriel fired up, getting a bit of support, getting those early wickets. But they can't relax because from the experience of the first test match, they'll know how test cricket can turn things around so very quickly. And they have to keep pushing through on the third day. All
right, now let's dissect the day. We start first of all with Nkrumah Bonner. He was looking for that century. His first would have been his first. Tino, was he just perhaps a little bit too careful as he played from 74 to 90? Your thoughts on Nkrumah Bonner's 90 and how he played in this test match?
Well, Barry, having the opportunity to get out in the 90s in a test match. the nerves kick in, brother, and you're thinking about so many different things, and Nkrumah this would have been the second time he got into this position. I thought that he would have learned from the first situation he would have been in, but look, sometimes 80 or 90 is better than 100. So he will be disappointed personally, but when he's thinking about it from a team perspective, I think he did a fantastic job in batting time. Remember, cricket is time, wickets, and runs. And I think he did well and he batted magnificently.
Fazir, I want to fast forward to you to talk a little bit about Joshua De Silva because I'm really impressed with this young man from Trinidad and Tobago. He scored 70 to add his 22, 92 all told, but he too was denied a century. He really batted well. Your thoughts on his innings, and then I want to ask you a little bit about his background in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, Indian. You saw his disappointment when he played down the wrong line to basically a straighter delivery, and obviously disappointed. 8 runs short of a maiden test 100. Much of the disappointment we saw earlier from Nkrumah Bonner. But he is that type of cricketer, really dedicated, really committed. He's a young player. We saw him with the Emerging Players 11 that won the Regional Super 50 in November of last year, and we saw that not cockiness or arrogance, but a real commitment and dedication. And I think everyone everyone is recognizing that he is a young man, like so many others in West Indies cricket, with a tremendous amount of potential, and you can only hope that he builds on it.
Where is he from? Which cricket club is he from in Trinidad and Tobago?
He is from the Queen's Park Cricket Club, which has consistently produced so many outstanding cricketers over the decades. They have the best resources, they have the best facilities, and they tend to attract a lot of the young talent in Trinidad and Tobago. He's also from St. Mary's College, one of the premier educational institutions in Trinidad and Tobago, and he represents their first test cricketer for some many decades. But I think one of the most admirable elements about him is not so much the natural ability or his work behind the stumps or with the bat, but he seems to be someone, even at a very young age, who is keen to learn. He's played a lot of football at secondary schools level as well, so he's an all-round sportsman in many respects. But I think more than anything else about him is his willingness to learn. And you can only hope that, as we say these things about so many young cricketers in the West Indies, that desire to learn will take him forward for many, many years to come, and that he won't get carried away with what appears to be a very encouraging start to his international career.
Do you see him as a future captain in West Indies cricket, Fazir? That might be a bit of a loaded question, but you can handle it.
It is a loaded question, and I'm not surprised that you load that one on me. But that's a long way to go, because he does have that potential. He does have that ability. But before we even start thinking in that direction, he's got to establish himself. And that's one of the concerns that we often have in West Indies cricket. Even with Kyle Mayers, for example, after starting with a test double 100, some may argue, well, the only way is down. And that's where players need to retain their focus. Whether or not he has that ability, he certainly seems to be someone who is very much involved. Most wicketkeepers are. They're always saying something. They're always encouraging the bowler, encouraging their team. So it's almost as if you're a natural cheerleader. But there's a huge step forward from talking about being a natural cheerleader to taking on the responsibilities of leadership. So let's not weigh him down. Let's not weigh any of those other players down with those expectations, because first and foremost, they've got to establish themselves in the team.
All right, let's talk a little bit about that partnership, Johnny Barron, between De Silva and Alzarri Joseph. Alzarri Joseph is averaging now better than some of the premier batsmen in this test team in his very short career. But he made 82 last night, Johnny. Really batted in a counter-attacking fashion. He struck some 5 sixes and 8 fours. But most importantly, he put on 118 runs with Joshua De Silva. Let's talk a little bit about Alzarri Joseph, and then we look at their partnership.
Yeah, it's becoming no accident for Alzarri Joseph now, isn't it? It's his second 80 now in the space of 4 test innings. I think he's doing brilliantly. And actually, when West Indies opted to go for Alzarri Joseph over Kemar Roach, the first thing I thought actually was not only with his new ball skills, but the fact that he would really bolster that lower middle order. And so it proved. That's enormous runs. Bear in mind, of course, the tail got blown away for 6 runs in the last test. I thought they did brilliantly. He was attacking throughout those 5 sixes, many lofted down the ground. It was a wonderful exhibition of stroke play. And he's just going from strength to strength with the bat.
He dominated the partnership of 118 as well. I think De Silva was happy to let him play his shots and let him express himself. Your thoughts on the partnership?
Really impressive, I think, the partnership. I think, especially off the back of 88 for the previous partnership. And it was so important at that stage, with the last 3 wickets remaining, that West Indies went on to get around about 350, 400. I thought it was a brilliant effort. And De Silva now as well, if you look at the valuable runs he's scoring, I think the 6th wicket now, the third 50 in a row partnership plus that wicket is averaged. And he's already up to an average of 42 with 250s in his 3 tests so far. It's just really clinical batting, expertly done.
Yeah, indeed so. And you must also mention he also got the promotion up ahead Cornwall, whose batting has not come on, and I hope that he's perhaps beginning to learn his lesson. All right, you're watching On Tour. When we come back, a look at how the West Indies picked up from that batting effort and took it on the field when they bowled. You're watching On Tour on FlowSports.
Put up your hand, it's time to party. Turn it up to the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand, it's time to...
So welcome back then to On Tour. Just a reminder of the situation at Maipur in the test match going into day 3. The West Indies have Bangladesh trailing by some 304 runs. Bangladesh still need a further 104, 105 runs to avoid that follow-on. It could be quite interesting. So 4-9 West Indies, Bangladesh 105 for 4. We've added another man to the bus. I'm talking about Vinod Mamchan. Vinod, thank you so much for joining us. You've got your fellow Trinidadian, Fazir Mohammed there, and of course, Johnny Barrett and Tino Best. Speaking of fellow Trinidadian, Joshua Silva, I thought, stole the show on day 2. And it was then another Trinidadian who made a big impact with the ball, Shannon Gabriel. Talk me through, Vinod, that spell. 2 for 31, but he certainly looked fired up when he came out and bowled at Bangladesh.
Yes, guys. Well, Tino Best has been asking for that from ball 1 of this series. Even in the ODI series, that the West Indies fast bowlers need to understand that they need to forget the trap. Forget all the talk about the trap. Running hard, bowl fast, bowl aggressively. And this is what Shannon Gabriel did last night. And I think tomorrow morning, if he can come back fresh and continue to do that, let's put the Bangladeshis on the back foot. As Faz said, you need to go for them. You need to go at them. You need to fight them hard. And you need to come hard at them. Shannon Gabriel is the leader of the pack. And he really set the tone last night. Hence, you would have seen at the end of the day's play, 4 wickets have already fallen.
Mushfiqur Rahim, he holds the key. He's on 27. The partnership from 71 to that 105. When you look at how the West Indies will want to start day 3, you reckon they will continue with Gabriel and Cornwall to start, or do you think Joseph and Gabriel will perhaps start the attack for the West Indies?
Well, I think Gabriel is definitely going to start. I don't know if he may also go for Cornwall at the top, or probably Alzari Joseph. These guys are fresh. Alzari had a long knock today, and probably tomorrow he will be able to start the bowling together with Shannon Gabriel and look to shock these guys. I'm looking at Mithun, and he seems to be a little susceptible to short pitch bowling, so that may also dictate. But going back just a little bit to today, Barry, I thought that Craig Brathwaite waited a bit too long to introduce Jomel Warrican.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I was going to pick up Tino Best on this. Tino did 2 things. Did he wait too long to bring in Jamal Warrican? And also, haven't played with Shannon Gabriel. Is he the kind of cricketer that works hard? Is he hungry? He works hard at his cricket, Tino?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just talking about Craig first. Firstly, look, I don't think he waited too long. Look, the game is young. You don't want a situation that you're rushing the cricket down at all. Let Warrican settle into this bowling. You start with Cornwall, you start with Shannon Gabriel, and you got Azari. You don't have to rush the cricket down. You're looking to get some of the shine off the ball as well, so it can spin a bit more. So you don't want to rush down the cricket. Going back to Shannon now, look, Shannon was always a hard worker. He has a good attitude. As Vinod said on many occasions, he's a like how I am a gym rat. He is a net rat. But I just want Vinod to know I was a net rat as well. I only became a gym rat when I stopped playing cricket. But look, Shannon looked good, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to be aggressive, Barry. You've got to hit the Bangladeshis with pace. You play your 2 quickest bowlers, and you expect them to run in and bowl as quickly as possible. And bowl good lines and good lines. So far, so good. I hope that they can come back tomorrow. And I will start with the 2 fast bowlers. Just running and bowl as quickly as possible. Get them 4 to 5 overs spell, and then get Cornwall and Warrican into the attack then.
Johnny, you look at the fact that no Shakib Al Hassan. He's there. He's watching. He's obviously perhaps mentioned on the team, but the Bangladesh batsmen do look susceptible to the fast bowling. And Tino was making the point all the time that, look, it doesn't matter where you are, you could be on the most flattest of pitches. If you're going to run it and bowl fast, you can still run at your players. Why have Bangladesh looked so timid to the fast bowling in their own backyard?
I think, that as Tino proved back on the last time the West Indies won in Bangladesh in that 2013 tour that out-and-out fast bowling works extremely effectively in those conditions. And Shannon Gabriel hits a hard length time after time. He'll rough you up the short stuff, but he attacks the stumps. He makes you play. And he's been in terrific form since the West Indies have been on these series of tours through the pandemic. You have to look at that 9 for, of course, that he took in the Ageas Bowl to set the England tour up. He bowled pretty well in New Zealand without a great deal of success, and he bowled his heart out in the last test in Chottagram. It's fair to say that Bangladesh, don't like extreme pace, and that's exactly what the West Indies possess at the moment.
Fazir, we continue to talk about the fitness and the appearance of Rakheem Cornwall. There was always so much controversy about him getting to actually play. Do you think that everyone has passed that white elephant in the room now about Rakheem Cornwall? And how are you in terms of seeing him, his fitness and his ability and his agility on the cricket field?
Well, I'll be the first to acknowledge that I didn't think that it would be a good look for the West Indies to have him as a test player, but he's responded. I mean, what can you ask of someone other than to take 10 wickets in a match as he did against Afghanistan? And I know, yes, there will be the caveat, well, it was only Afghanistan, but he started his test career well with a couple of important wickets against India. And I think still, though, he needs to have greater mobility. He's done a tremendous amount of work because remember, and it's not about being unkind to him, he was viewed almost comically when he first appeared in regional cricket almost 10 years ago, and he's had quite a bit of work to do. But still, at the end of the day, you are always concerned that at some point along the way, his comparative lack of mobility is going to cost the West Indies. But at the moment, it hasn't. He's taken his opportunities, and it's good to see, though, that he's playing his role, that indeed he's responding to the challenge, and that he continues to work on his fitness, because at the end of the day, the modern game demands extreme levels of fitness. The days of pudgy, portly players being involved in the test game, that's virtually long gone. And he's responded to the challenge. Clearly, he still has some work to do in that regard.
Vinod, whose play is up for the taking? Whose play is up for grabs? Who's going to find it difficult to get back into this test team when everyone is available again?
Well, I can say off the bat, Shannon Gabriel would see some problems in getting back in there. You look at the players. This is Test cricket, and you have to look at players' attitude. And I love the attitude of Nkrumah Bonner. I love the statement that he made. He made 2 statements that have stayed with me so far. One is that he's being paid to make runs, and it shows his mentality. And the other one is that he said that the humblest calf drinks the most milk. Now, that tells me that he has the appetite. So will you then force him out? Look at his start. Regardless if it's Bangladesh, they have a very good attack, and they're playing in Bangladesh. He has started well. I think Shannon Gabriel could be one who may have to make room, or we look at Darren Bravo. And even Darren Bravo is not as consistent as we would like him to be. I thought he missed a great opportunity in going to Bangladesh to play, because he's probably our best player of spin bowling. And in Bangladesh, Darren Bravo has his issues with short pitch bowling and really quick stuff. He was not going to get that in Bangladesh. He was going to get a diet of slow bowling, and he could have come out of this really confident and a star.
Yeah, well said. Very well said, Vinod Bamchan. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll hear from the star of the day, Joshua De Silva, right here on Tour.
Put up your hand, it's time to party. Turn it up to the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand, it's time to...
So we're back for the final segment of On Tour. Joshua De Silva getting 70 runs, of course, on day 2 to add to the 22 he had. He got 92 all told. Really sorry he didn't get a maiden test century. But afterwards, he spoke with Ian Bishop about the day's play and his very special innings.
I'm very happy with the result. Got a half century, but it's not good enough. I was 8 runs short, and I was gutted. Probably shed a little tear or 2 walking off just because I wanted to get there so badly. But hopefully there's more opportunities and I get it the next time.
What is your biggest learning on this tour? Because you've been involved in key partnerships throughout the Test series.
It's just about batting time. Test cricket is all about batting time, and once you're at the wicket, runs will come. So it gets easier as it comes by. You have those tough situations that you have to get through, but I've learned to just grind through them and just get those easy ones. And then when the tough times come, just face it with a full face.
As far as wicket keeping is concerned, the pitches here are different, quite different from back in the Caribbean. What's it been like?
It's been good. It's been a little tough, a good challenge. The pitches are a lot lower, so the fingers get a little more damaged than if we were home or in any other place. But no, it's a good challenge. I'm really excited for it. It hasn't spun as much as I thought it would, but hopefully it spins a little more for our sake.
All right. Thank you so much, Joshua De Silva. Gentlemen, let's get your 4 opinions before we wrap it up. Of course, we'll start at the top left. Tino Best, in 60 seconds. What must West Indies do to avoid what must Bangladesh do rather to avoid the follow-on, and what must the West Indies do to try and bowl them out?
Just continue to be disciplined with their bowling, their length and the length, be aggressive. The ball is still relatively half new. They've got to run in and bowl as quickly as possible. Look, for Bangladesh's sake, they will be depending heavily on Rakheem. With Mushika, the wicketkeeper batsman, who's a very good batsman. He's a fighter. And once you dislodge him, I think that you are in, you're going to set the cat amongst the pigeons. But really and truly, I think that West Indies need to get wickets. They need to get wickets in that first session. If they get 2 to 3 wickets in that first session, that would be really good. They will really put them in a very strong position. But it's always a process. They've got to go through the process of getting those wickets. They're just not going to surrender. And Bangladesh are playing for pride. They don't want to be beaten too low from a very weak West Indies team.
And it's your time to shine, Johnny Barrett.
I think Bangladesh just have to look back from their perspective to the last test. They were 144 for 4, and they added 253 runs for the last 5 wickets. And those kind of memories they're going to have to take in here. And Mehdi Hussain, of course, got 100 on that occasion. They'll be looking to do the same. But I think, as Tino is quite right, just stick to the process. West Indies have done that so well so far. I expect more of the same tomorrow.
Fazir Mohammed, day 3, what does it hold?
Well, it could hold anything, because this is Test cricket. Anything can happen, especially when you're talking about the West Indies. And they will know how inconsistent they've been over so many years, and how mercurial they have been as well. And therefore, it's about, as Tino said, doing the basics right, being disciplined and being desperate, remaining desperate, and not thinking that you got the match in your hands, because it could very easily slip away with some determination from Bangladesh.
Yes, and we saw the West Indies in that first test. One of the reasons why it slipped away from Bangladesh, because the West Indies were able to avoid the follow-on. And I think that's going to be the key for Bangladesh, being able to avoid that follow-on. Finally, Vinod Mamchan.
Well, I want to agree with Faz that, they need to come back and just keep the basics right and keep on attacking. They need to understand that, you can't let your guard down. And we've seen that too many times with the West Indies team. Whether or not they would enforce the follow-on should they bowl out Bangladesh below 210, one waits to see. I don't think that Coach Phil Simmons will be one to really push that, because you don't want to be batting last. Should Bangladesh put up a better batting performance in the second innings, you don't want to be batting last and chasing anything significant on the final day.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Well, if you're not going to be able to watch the match, which starts, of course, at 11:30 Eastern Caribbean tonight, you can watch us for highlights here on Tour, right here on FlowSports. Faz is not with us tomorrow, but we'll have, of course, Johnny, Tino, and Vinod as we reassess the day's play. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Bye-bye for now, and I'll talk tomorrow.
We are the West Indies. That's right. We are the West Indies. Turn it up to the top. It's time to jump up. People, are you ready?